and Rose is unnecessary and doesn't actually advance the plot. And if you cut that out, you'd never know the fucking difference and it'd be just fine.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. I will say that is not an argument I will refute, because I do. I think that was one of my arguments with the, when I first saw it and didn't like it, I was like, I don't understand the point of that story, that plot line. It's a plot line that doesn't do anything. You're just trying to introduce a character, but it's not doing so hot. You're not doing it the right way. So I 100% agree with you on that. So, but going back to this, we have been introduced to Mrs. Loomis. And, I love that Sydney, when Gale Weathers walks in on stage, as Mickey introduces who his kind of co-killer was, accomplice. Yes, thank you. Co-killer. I like that one too. Gale Weathers walks out and like Sydney's like, holy shit, it was Gale. And Gale's like, no. And then Mrs. Loomis, Debbie Saltz, walks on. And I do love that realization of Mrs. Loomis. And I just think that that's so cool. That I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, that's a great fucking reveal, man. And she's like, what? And she's like, yeah, losing a bunch of weight and having some cosmetic surgery can really do wonders for you. And I do appreciate that they're continuing on with the storyline of, it's Sidney Prescott's mother's fault that all of this started, because that's why Billy started the killing, because Mrs. Prescott was sleeping with his dad and it broke up the family. So his mother left, and then the mother came back, and trying to avenge her son's death. And so we now get to see Sydney kind of outsmart her. And it's really fucking cool.
Dog just squeak farted at me.
June did?
Yeah.
Ew. And I do really appreciate that scene that we just saw where Mrs. Loomis is looking through the bullet holes of the door, and you see Sydney with that axe. That is so psycho. And I really appreciate that.
I love how big and theatrical this scene is. This
literally theatrical.
Take place in a theater, but it just feels very Wes Craven to me. Like this is something out of it. It could be at home in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
Instead of Sydney swinging an axe and shit dropping down, Freddy is cutting the strings with his razor knives. You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%. Now this is where Sydney's just taking an axe and cutting down the props from the stage, and Mrs. Loomis thinks that she's going to climb up a wall. I don't really understand the logic there, but she thinks she's going to climb up this wall, and then Sydney cuts another cord, and all of these foam bricks, like foam painted to look like bricks, fall on top of her.
I am very impressed with this small Ohio College theater department's budget.
100%.
A number of college productions, and none of them look this good. So Debbie Salt survived the foam
brick avalanche.
Barrage. That's what I was trying to say. Foam brick barrage.
I was going to say foam brick avalanche.
Yeah.
And Sydney, man, putting up a fucking fight.
It's a pretty visceral fight scene.
It is, yeah.
Because again, no superhuman strength on your killer. You have regular humans fighting each other.
Humans? You have two regular humans? Yep. And then fucking Cotton Weary out of nowhere. And literally you just see the line, God damn it, Cotton, because he just comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, what is he still doing in that college? Like, why was he there? And so this is where it confirms that Cotton kind of sucks, because he's holding one of the police officers' guns. I don't know where they got the cop's gun. I don't know where
Courtney Cox's character, Gail, had picked it up, and then she got shot. And when she fell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he came over from where roughly Gail was.
Okay. So he has the gun. Mrs. Loomis has Sydney at knife point. And Mrs. Loomis is like she wants to stick to her plan. She really does. It doesn't seem like she wants to veer off the plan. She wants to stick with this plan and move on. And so she's now like, Cotton, Cotton, you can be the star. Let me kill her. Yeah. And this is where you see Cotton kind of like consider like, well, Sydney, I could let her kill you, or you can agree to do Barbara Walters. Like he just sucks.
Exactly.
But yeah. And then as soon as Mrs. Loomis goes down, Cotton tries to backtrack and he's like, I'd never let anything happen to you, right? And she's like, fuck you, Cotton, give me the gun. Like, just give me the gun. And yeah, Sydney's like, yeah, they always come back, and just double taps. I always thought that Zombieland really was the first one to like lay out the rule of the double tap. No, sir. No. Sidney Prescott did that. Yeah. Literally has to like, it's so gross. It is a really gross, really skeevy scene.
Yeah. I do like that after Cotton Weary pulls the trigger, he doesn't look like he almost
confident.
Like, holy shit, I just fucking did this.
Yeah. He's not confident about it at all.
Not like a full blown piece of shit. Does that make sense? Like he feels remorse for pulling the trigger, even though
he just says like, yeah, and he just says that was intense. You know what I mean? Like he looks shaken. He does not have any confidence about what he just did at all. Like obviously it does affect him. And Sydney's like, yeah. And like Sydney gets up and just looks at him with like sheer determination of just give me the gun. Shut up. Give me the gun. Like she's so over his shit. And he's very like, because he understands like, what just happened made him look really gross. Yeah. And so she's like, just give me the gun. And he's like, yeah, no, take it. Yep. Absolutely.
And then finally the realization that Gail is okay. Well,
yep. Yeah. She comes
not a bullet, but she's all right.
Yep. And this is fantastic. This is such a fantastic scene because Gail also just shits on Cotton. Like,
you know what? The gun Cotton ended up with, I think it's the one that
was it one of the cops, like one of the escorts guns?
Yes, but Debbie Salt had it and she wiped it off.
Yeah.
And that's the one that Cotton grabbed.
God. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. That scene.
Who does come back.
Yes. Timothy Oliphant. He just stands up and waves his arms like, ah! And both Courtney Cox, both Gail Weathers and Sydney just unload the guns into him. And then Sydney just turns around, double taps Mrs. Loomis just to be sure. Cool because Joel, the cameraman, is like, hey, Gail, I'm back. Like it's just a funny thing that Joel comes and goes at this point now. So Joel comes back and he's like, be Gail Weathers and whatnot. And so she is shot in the kind of torso area, but like she's just wrapped up, I guess. He tries to hand her the microphone and says like, I'm back, be Gail Weathers, like report the story and stuff. And then you see like, we've got a live one, and here Dewey comes in a stretcher down the steps. He's alive, and Gail immediately like jumps in the ambulance with him and is like, fuck the story. That's when you kind of like really see her get to choose Dewey over a story, which Gail is not known to do.
Yeah. And then Sydney directs the press to Cotton Weary and says he's the hero.
Yep. Yeah. And he's like, you know what?
Says it'll make a hell of a movie.
Yep. But and
that's Sydney kind of making peace with Cotton Weary, I think.
Yes, I agree. And also, this is one of the best like ending fade outs fucking ever. It's so perfectly 90s. Like you just see Sidney Prescott
even more perfectly 90s. They wanted to use the song Bittersweet Symphony. But
God.
So that song contains a sample of a Rolling Stones song, which would have made the cost to get it for the movie like astronomical. So they took a Collective Soul song and then asked them to add a cello to it to make it more like Bittersweet Symphony.
That's amazing.
And there was actually an alternate ending scripted but not shot, where in this kind of crane pull away there was a third ghost face in the clock tower.
I read that too. So that would have been cool because it would have again opened it up for the third one. Mm-hmm. The third one is fantastic. Obviously, we're going to do it in 2 weeks. So like, you'll get to know how fantastic it is. So that is the end of Scream 2. You get that wonderful fade out and, that great song and everything. And
so this soundtrack, because the first movie didn't have like a huge pop hits, it had kind of like almost an indie rock kind of score to it because it had some like Nick Cave on it.
Yeah, it's your grunge. It's your grunge era.
Yeah, this one they went out of your way to like it. The soundtrack is accused of being a mishmash of 90s bands, and it's songs that weren't good enough to actually go on their albums. And I kind of feel that. However, the closing credits version of I Think I Love You is by Less Than Jake, and I fucking love Less Than Jake. So I'm gonna be totally okay with that one.
Sure. And it's a very 90s ending because you get like these mini you get the characters right next to their credit name and stuff. So it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. Now, Jay, what's it time for?
We can either do the game or we could do Whatcha Watching.
Let's do the game.
Okay.
It's game time.
You ready?
I'm ready, sir. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's do the damn thing. Okay. So I'm gonna shuffle. And that one. All right. Jay, for a machete card, what is the name of Sigourney Weaver's character in Alien?
Ripley.
What's her first name?
Ellen.
There you go. All right. Bela Lugosi was best known for his portrayal of what Universal monster?
Dracula.
Yes. All right. Jay is on the board. He's got a machete card. All right. Let's mark this up here.
Will Ferrell fist pumping in the air.
All right. One machete card. Okay. And I add that to the pile of pre-asked or post-asked or whatever. All right. The question reads, David Naughton and Griffin Dunne play a pair of unfortunate backpackers in this 1981 lycanthrope classic. Ooh, I'm going to say that's An American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
I'm not going to flip it over because I don't want to give myself the answer to the second question.
Well, consider watch that on our podcasts.
That would be really bad if I didn't get it. So now, and I should say this is for a crucifix card.
Okay.
And then the second question is, teenage Charlie Brewster thinks his new next door neighbor is a vampire in this 1985 film that was later remade in 2011. And I think it's Fright Night. I think it's Fright Night because I think the remake was with Colin Farrell. Am I right? Boom! Crucifix card for Victoria.
Both
all right.
On the board.
Jay is to the beans. We are 1-1, sir.
That's right. So what you watching?
What am I watching? You know what I started was the Fear Street trilogy on Netflix. I kind of watched, like let it play in the background a little bit. So I do want to revisit it. I'm not terribly like invested in it, I think. But yeah, so I started with Fear Street, 1994, I think it is. It's not really doing a whole lot for me. So I don't know if I'll go back to kind of rewatch it with a more serious tone to it. I don't know. Not really super stoked on it. I did, however, watch the Exorcism of Emily Rose for the second time this week. And it'd been a number of years since I had seen that. And that is a fucking phenomenal exorcism movie. Jennifer Carpenter does an incredible job. And that movie is spooky as shit. Yeah. So yeah. And then I've just been on a Bob's Burgers kick.
That's cool.
Just putting that on in the background and whatnot. So that's really nice to do. So yeah, Jay, what are you watching?
I watched a movie last night called There's Someone Inside Your House.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, it's a Netflix film. And cool. Sean Levy and James Wan produced it. I really thought it was fun.
Yeah?
Good slasher. I picked up on who the killer was going to be
pretty early on,
midway through, but it was fun. It was good. Some solid gore.
Nice.
Like not I don't want to say that it was a meta commentary, but like the